Residents of Kathmandu have felt some respite as the garbage which had piled up on the streets of the capital since 10 days was collected from early this morning. The decision to resume garbage collection was reached after public representatives of Sistol and Boncharedada dumping site areas reached a 10-point agreement at the Ministry of Urban Development last night. Good morning, I am Bipashna Tamang and these are the headlines of the hour. The government rolls back its decision to provide 2 days off a week effective from 15th of June, following criticisms from all quarters calling the provision impractical. Garbage that had been piling up in the streets of Kathmandu finally collected from this morning. 10-point agreement reached. Garbage will be categorized in Kathmandu before taking it to the landfill sites. UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson wins the backing of a majority of Tory MPs in a confidence vote despite a significant revolt against his leadership. And dismal performance of defending champions France continues as they were held to a 1-1 draw by Croatia in the Nations League. Denmark defeats Austria 2-1. The government has scrapped its decision to provide 2 days off a week effective from 15th of June. The decision comes following criticisms from all quarters calling the provision impractical. The government had implemented 2 days off a week modality since 15th of May, intending to reduce the consumption of fuel. The decision had met with criticisms as the government was alleged of failing to ensure productivity of government employees despite regular salary increments. Parliamentarians have demanded erasing the statute of limitations on crimes related to sexual violence through the ongoing session of the House of Representatives. However, the government has said that the provision will not be immediately amended. Responding to the questions raised by the parliamentarians in yesterday's session of the House of Representatives, Minister for Law, Justice and Parliamentary Affairs Govinda Prasad Sharma said that the government was serious about crimes related to sexual violence, but added that the statute of limitations could not be amended at the moment. However, women parliamentarians continued voicing for the removal of the statute of limitations from the ongoing session of the parliament. Minister Sharma further informed that the government had assigned the Nepal Law Commission to study the issue and clarified that the government would revisit the provision on the basis of the report furnished by the Commission. Parties in the ruling coalition have agreed to reshuffle the Council of Ministers only after the endorsement of the budget. At yesterday's meeting held at the official residence of Prime Minister Shahbadur Deoba and Balwatar, top brass leaders of the 4 parties in the ruling coalition, Nepali Congress, CPN Maoist Centre, CPN Unified Socialist and Janata Samajwadi Party agreed to delay the restructuring of the cabinet. Prime Minister Deoba had invited the senior coalition leaders to hold talks after CPN Unified Socialist on Sunday decided to withdraw 4 ministers and replace them, including a state minister. Premier Deoba has said that changing ministers at the moment would give a wrong message as ministerial portfolio-wise discussions on the budget were underway at the House of Representatives. A consensus among the senior leaders of other parties in the coalition meant the oath-taking ceremony of proposed new ministers has been delayed. After public representatives reached an agreement regarding garbage management at the Ministry of Urban Development last night, garbage collection in Kathmandu resumed from 2 this morning. Garbage had been piling up on the streets of Kathmandu after residents of Sistol and Boncharedada dumping sites had obstructed access to the sites. A meeting was held yesterday with the public representatives of the area in coordination with the Ministry of Urban Development and Kathmandu Metropolitan City. After 3 hours of discussions, a 10-point agreement was reached according to which access was provided to the landfill sites and garbage collection resumed in the capital from 2 this morning. As per the agreement, from 17th of July, garbage will be categorized in Kathmandu before taking it to the landfill sites. The local public representatives have warned that access to the landfill sites would be obstructed again if the 10-point agreement is not implemented. The government has a target of cutting down current expenses by 10% during this fiscal year and by 15% in the next fiscal year. However, the government has not reduced amounts under any headings for the next fiscal year. The budget for foreign visits by government employees has been increased from 840 million rupees in the ongoing fiscal year to 872.1 million rupees for the next fiscal year. The government has also set aside 394.3 million rupees under the heading Other Allowances for officials of various commissions and bodies, which has been increased to 434.3 million rupees. 2.48 billion rupees had been set aside for petroleum products for officers and employees for the current fiscal year, which has increased to 2.88 billion rupees for the upcoming fiscal year. Likewise, the budget under the heading Fuel for Office Bearers has been increased from 120 million to 140 million rupees. The budget for vehicle repair has also been increased from 1.65 billion rupees to 1.68 billion rupees. Meanwhile, the budget of 815 million rupees under the heading Development Expenses has been set aside for buying vehicles. Budgets for training, seminars, gatherings, travel, among others, have not reduced either. It's time now for our segment Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion.
Public Pulse.
Here's the question: why has the government not reduced administrative expenses in the budget? The options are option A, absence of good governance; option B, pressure from officials; and option C, no intention of budget implementation. The voting is on. Type any WS. Select your option A, B or C and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. The Meteorological Forecasting Division has said that monsoon has begun 1 week earlier in Nepal and there are possibilities of more than average rainfall this season. With excessive rainfall in the forecast, all sectors appear alert and aware about its possible impacts. In recent time, data from the Meteorological Forecasting Division is being regularly used in sectors including aviation, agriculture, tourism and security departments. These sectors have also been actively formulating policies and strategies for curbing the impact of possible water-induced disasters. Disaster management committees formed in districts and local levels engage in response activities based on the forecast of the Weather Division. Security departments have made preparations for rescue, relief and resettlements for victims of possible water-induced disasters such as floods, landslides and inundation. Nepal Army and Armed Police Force have activated their response units for any possible situation and have been closely following the data provided by the Weather Division. The security departments have said that the nature of disasters and required responses differ in different geographic conditions and have therefore prepared their units accordingly in all districts. And in our Public Voice segment, we had asked locals in several provinces how to prepare for the monsoon season. Let's take a look at what they had to say.
Public Voice.
पूर्व तयारीका हिसाबले चाहिँ आफ्नो युथहरुलाई चाहिँ तयारीपूर्वक राख्नु पर्छ भन्ने मेरो मान्यता छ।
नालाहरु चाहिँ सरसफाई गर्ने टोलको केटाहरुलाई इकट्ठा गरेर
खोला नालाको छेउमा बस्ती बसाउनु भएन।
औजारहरु पनि एकदम तयारी अवस्थामा राख्नु पर्यो। भोलि त्यहाँनेर रात तथा उद्धार गर्न जानुपर्ने हुन्छ।
भल बाडी त्यस्तो खालको खोल्सा खोल्सी छ भने देखि त्यस्तो ठाउँमा घरहरु बनाउनु हुँदैन।
लाइटर जस्ता आगोजन्य वस्तुहरु बच्चा-बच्चीको हातबाट टाढा राख्ने व्यवस्था मिलाएको छ।
Sports News.
2 under-construction stadiums in Jhapa have been stranded because of political conflict. The federal government has not allocated budget for 2 stadiums because of public protest after names of the stadiums of respect of indigenous nationalities were changed. This has left the athletes disappointed. An agreement was reached for the construction of Adibasi or indigenous stadium in Kantipur of Jhapa. The stadium, of which the foundation stone was laid by the then Defence Minister Bipashna, is now in controversy because of the change in its name. The community of indigenous nationalities have resorted to protests after the government led by CPN-UML decided to rename the sporting facility Madan Bhandari Stadium. A total of 42.5 million rupees was previously allocated for the stadium in the budget of 2016-17. However, the budget has been regularly reduced for the project since then. Local residents have alleged the government for disrespecting indigenous nationalities. After the stadium was drawn into controversies, the CPN-UML-led government began the construction of Madan Bhandari International Stadium in the land of Hamse Dumse Community Forest in Tamang, Ward number 3. That's all for the moment. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.